What's up guys, welcome back to my channel Anime Fiction. I'm back with a new episode of Head of Naruto was reborn as Saitama in My Hero Academia Part 2. And if you did enjoy the video, give this a like, and if you're new on my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 7 Naruto received his admission letter to the school a week after the entrance exam. His acceptance letter was followed by a generic greeting from All Might. Although Izuku received a different one because of what he did during the exam, the rest was just a regular message stating congratulations, what it means to be a hero, blah blah. Naruto, to be honest, didn't pay much attention midway through. In comparison to the original Naruto, he was at least smarter in academics because he was an experienced programmer in his previous life. Therefore, the written exam wasn't too difficult to pass. However, he was then forced to submit a report on his personal quirk and physical characteristics. To keep things easy, Naruto just mentioned that he possessed a strength quirk. This was all done in preparation for his new costume, which he would receive when the new school year began. What about his costume design? Why mess with something that is already perfect? Naruto simply sent in Saitama's distinctive costume from OPM, which was a yellow one-piece jumpsuit with a small zipper at the collar and a black belt with a round gold in the center. Not to mention the crimson gloves that cover a fifth of his forearms and the red boots that match his white cloak. Naruto kept himself busy all day by detailing every tiny aspect in his outfit. Everyone in the UA examination room was currently going over the results that the youngsters had received. The top 10 people's rankings were shown on a screen in front of everyone. Naruto was at the absolute top of the list, taking first place. His score was 103 to 39. Indicating that he vanquished the evil bots for a total of 103 points, with his rescue points being 39. With this, he received the highest score of all, overtaking Katsuki Bakugo, who finished second with a total score of 77.
Naruto's uninterested expression showed on the screen. He earned a total score of 142. This is the best score that we have ever gotten in UA history. According to Examiner A,
he has incredible speed and strength, easily dispatching any type of villain bot, from 1P to 3P. 1 point equals 3 points. Examiner B examined, from easy to difficult. He looks so unassuming, but at the beginning, the moment he got serious, it's like the atmosphere around him totally changed. According to Examiner C.
Who knows, he might even be able to be as strong as All Might in the future. D. The Examiner exclaimed.
After checking through Naruto's scores, they moved on to the others and began testing everyone again. Time sure does fly. As he neared the entrance to UA High School, Naruto said. He was currently dressed in the UA High School student uniform, which looked just like it did in the anime. He came face to face with the door that went into Class 1A while walking through the corridors. Because I'm in this class, that means I'll be replacing someone, but who will it be? Naruto thought to himself as he opened the door, deciding to see for himself. He could see inside the classroom that he was still pretty early, as only half of the chairs were full. Everyone's attention was drawn to him because they were still excited to meet the remainder of Class 1A. Ah, Naruto. Mina waved to Naruto from her seat, one seat behind the one closest to the door. Naruto nodded and looked around the class, noting that Katsuki was already there, his feet resting on a table. He merely scoffed and crossed his arms when he saw Naruto. Here, take a seat here. Mina smacked the table next to her. He grabbed the seat to her left and waited for the remainder of the class to come, not caring where he sat, because there were no window seats. Hey, I had no idea you were like, crazy strong. Mina exclaimed as she leaned closer to Naruto. Why didn't you speak up about it? You know, a lot of people were making fun of you before the exam. Katsuki's ears perked up as she heard this. Well, it's not like I want to go around telling everyone that, Naruto replied. Actions, they say, speak louder than words. You're completely correct, Mina remarked, nodding her head. I would have inquired what medication you were on if you had told me you were insanely strong before I ever saw you take down that gigantic robot. Please accept my apologies. Hey, Mina, how do you two know each other? Inquired the red-headed Eijiro Kirishima from behind. We were in the same exam area, Mina replied. Oh, this is Naruto's Eijiro Kirishima. I've known him since we were in middle school. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you. Naruto and Kirishima exchanged greetings. As the group continued to converse, More and more students entered the classroom. People went around introducing themselves and learning each other's names. Iida Tenya challenged Katsuki about his legs being on the table, and Izuku walked in and was horrified when Tenya addressed him. Then there was Uraraka, who made Izuku blush just by chatting to him. When he looked around the room, he knew who the absent person was, Mineta. Naruto shrugged inwardly, thinking, never liked that character anyhow, so no loss here. If you're gonna be hunting for buddies, do it elsewhere. Outside the classroom, a sleepy, monotone voice could be heard when Aizawa appeared inside his sleeping bag, laying on the ground. This is the hero course. I'm casually drinking a juice pack. The entire class remained silent because they were all perplexed as to who this individual was. Except with one exception. Okay. It took you 8 seconds to be silent. Time is running out. You're not rational enough, kids. As he stepped out of his sleeping bag, Aizawa said, "My name is Shota Aizawa, and I'm your homeroom teacher. It's a pleasure to meet you." He pulled out the UA sports uniform from his sleeping bag and told the students, "Wear these immediately and then congregate at the PE grounds." Aizawa was currently outlining what was going to happen to the students outside. If you want to be heroes, we don't have time for entrance ceremonies or other frivolities. You will be tested on the following 8 activities, in no particular order. Baseball pitch long jump from a standing position. 50-meter sprint long distance running sideways hops that are sustained. Upper body workouts toe touch from a seated position. Naturally, you're familiar with all of these activities from middle school. Physical tests in which you were not allowed to use your quirks. Naruto remained silent. Although he had taken these examinations in the past, they were only in his father's gym. What were the outcomes? Make an educated guess. I was going to have him go first, but considering that he was homeschooled, he probably doesn't even know what his results would be in middle school without employing quirks, Aizawa mused. So Aizawa made Katsuki go first, as he went through the motions and yelled, "D," like a villain. Everyone was delighted to be able to employ their quirks in their trials after seeing Katsuki leave. Before you get too excited, there's a new rule. The student with the fewest total points will be labeled hopeless and expelled immediately. Aizawa cautioned the students not to get ahead of themselves. After going through his speech about how attending UA will not be easy, Aizawa ultimately concluded, from now on, for the next 3 years, all you can expect from your time at UA is one setback after another. This is plus ultra, and I expect you to conquer these obstacles and surpass your limits. Let's get started. The 50-meter dash was the first trial. Tenya, Asuisuyu, and Naruto were the first to go. Aizawa blew the whistle as he knelt to prepare.
Naruto had already crossed the finish line when he kicked off the ground and ran forward, with the same careless expression on his face. Tenya then caught up and crossed the finish line, leaving everyone stunned. Aizawa read out the recorded time, Naruto 0.97 seconds. Tenya 3.04.
The class burst out laughing because they couldn't believe Naruto's speed. What in the world was that? I had no idea he had a speed quirk. That's insanely fast. Denki Kaminari stated this. Yeah, I thought Tenya would be the fastest of us all, but apparently not. Who would have thought Naruto could be that quick? Eijiro Kirishima also contributed. Shoto Todoroki squinted his eyes at the performance but said nothing, while Mina simply clapped her hands. See? I told you he was insane. Mina stated. Don't be fooled by his appearance. Yeah, you weren't kidding, Kirishima explained. Everyone nodded, except Bakugo, who clicked his tongue in irritation. Aizawa just gave Naruto a brief glance before proceeding with the test. Trial 2. Grip Strength Evaluation. Naruto lightly squeezed the grip test in his hand, and then. Crack. I don't have to pay for this, do I? Mumbled Naruto, looking at Aizawa with a regretful expression. He raised the shattered grip machine. Standing long jump is the third trial. He spanned the entire distance and landed on the other side of the sandpit in a single leap. Sustained sideways jumps is the fourth trial. After getting into position, Naruto abruptly blurred, leaving behind perfect afterimages that made him appear to be standing in 5 separate places at the same moment. That's enough, Aizawa said, preventing Naruto from possibly going to another dimension at his current speed. Naruto's performance had begun to numb the others at this point. When it was Naruto's turn, he stood up in front of everyone. If anything happens to the ball, I won't get into trouble, right? He questioned, turning to Aizawa. It'll be fine, Aizawa muttered, rubbing his chin. Just do your best to throw the ball. Naruto pondered for a while before nodding and returning to his throwing posture. All Might stood off to the side, silently watching the trial. He had a horrible sensation for some reason. Aizawa glared at Naruto and used his wipe quirk on him, but it had no impact. Naruto's eyes narrowed, altering his entire demeanor and appearance. Everyone had the same thought when they saw this. From soft-boiled egg to hard-boiled, swinging his arm skyward, Naruto threw the ball as hard as he could, releasing it as his arm reached its height. Why do I even try anymore? As the dust that had been stirred up settled, Aizawa mumbled to himself. I can't even get rid of his quirk. What the hell is this kid? The outcomes were similar to Uraraka, displaying the infinite symbol. Everyone just stared blankly at Naruto, who had returned to his soft-boiled egg-like appearance and stood off to the side. When you said he was crazy strong, I guess you weren't kidding, Kyoka Jiro nudged Mira. With a wry smirk on her lips, Mina could only shake her head. Even she had not expected Naruto to be this insane, making every hardship virtually unmeasurable for him. Izuku was perplexed as he gazed at Naruto. Although he knew Naruto was powerful, seeing it for himself left him feeling uneasy. If it had been him, wouldn't he be a lot more powerful, and use it better if he had, one for all? Izuku reflected to himself. All Might noticed this and read Izuku's mind from his facial expression, forcing him to shake his head. Midoriya boy, you're going to need a lot more courage and some pride to push forward and fully inherit one for all. Of course, Katsuki clenched his teeth but said nothing. Nobody knew what he was thinking. With the exception of myself, ho-ho. The remainder of the trials proceeded as planned, and when it was Izuku's turn, everything happened as planned. Aizawa told him to go and then went on to deliver his speech. Following that occurrence, the trials resumed one after the other, with Naruto triumphant in all of them. Time to present the results, Aizawa remarked, pulling out a tablet with a hologram displaying everyone's ranking across the entire class. Not before adding. Oh, sure, the whole expulsion business was a sham. It was a clever ruse. In order to bring out your best performances. Aizawa stated with a smug expression, clearly pleased with himself. What? Tenya, Uraraka, and Izuku were taken aback. Of course that was a lie, Momo replied as he shook her hand. It should have been evident if you had merely thought about it. She then looked to Naruto and nodded, prompting Naruto to think, huh? What on earth did that nod even mean? Well, since he's practically the strongest here, I guess it would be obvious that he knew beforehand. Hanta Siro stated as the class nodded. What the hell is going on? There was no way in hell I would have known if I hadn't watched the anime. Naruto reflected as he examined the rating displayed in front of him. From 1st to 20th place. Yaoyorozu Momo Todoroki, Shoto. Bakugo, Katsuki Iida Tenya Tokiyami Fumikage Mezzo Shojis. Ojiro Mishirao Kirishima. Eijiro Mina Ishido's Koda, Koji. Sato Riki Asui Suyu Aoyama Yuga Siro Hanta Hanta. Denki Kaminari's Jiro Kyoka's Hagakure Toru Mr. Izuku Midoriya. Well, that's to be expected, I guess. Naruto thought to himself as Mina approached him. Wow, you really did great today. Getting first place overall in the class, and not just that but in all of the trials as well. Well, I guess you tied with Uraraka on the softball pitch. Mina said as Momo, Shoto, and Bakugo's ears perked up. It doesn't really matter to me, Naruto answered since he didn't really have any results from the past to compare to unless you counted the time before he became bald. Aizawa then spoke up as he walked away, with that, it's over. Your curriculum sheets are back in the classroom, so give them a once-over. Aizawa said before handing Midoriya a slip to head over to Recovering Girl. After he left, everyone stood around aimlessly. Mina said to Naruto, I guess this makes you the strongest in our class then. Everyone turned to look at Naruto, and seeing his trademark simple look, couldn't help but think to themselves, someone like that, is the strongest in our class. TCH, don't get so full of yourself. Katsuki clicked his tongue, just you wait, I'll topple you from first place, so don't get too comfortable now, egghead. Why do you have to insult my head, Naruto thought, just shrugging at Katsuki's words. Then, Todoroki walked up to Naruto and confronted him. Although you're in first place, I'll do whatever I can to surpass you, Todoroki said in a cold voice before walking off. Naruto just thought to himself, this is going to be a bother. Ending the first day of school, Naruto left the school and headed towards the station. Since him and Katsuki are neighbors, they headed back at the same time. On their way home, Naruto asked him, who do you think is the strongest in the class? Besides me, and you. Naruto quickly added the last part before Katsuki went ballistic. Katsuki scoffed and said, that half-and-half bastard I guess. In a fight, there's no way I would lose to him. Naruto simply just nodded as Katsuki then spoke up with an anger-filled voice, that damn Deku. I can't believe that he hid his quirk from me this whole time, that fucking nerd. Naruto simply stayed silent and let him rant. Sometimes, it's better to just let a little kid vent out his frustrations all at once. The two parted ways when they reached their home, ending their first day of school. The next day, class began as it was intended. Before noon would be normal classes that taught all of the required subjects. Afterward there'd be lunch at noon, then is the class that everybody looks forward to most. Foundational Heroic Studies. As class was about to begin, a loud and familiar shout caught the students off guard. IAAMMM, coming through the door, like a normal person. All Might shouted out as the students all started to get excited when he appeared into the room with a flare. I can't believe it. All Might's really gonna be teaching us, Kirishima exclaimed. That design's so Silver Age. That art style clashes so much that it's giving me goosebumps, Ojiro said, looking gushing at All Might's hero outfit.
Foundational Hero Studies. For this class, we'll be building up your hero foundation through various trials. All Might announced. Let's jump right into it. Combat training.
Instantly, Katsuki's eyes lit up as he grinned, almost just like a villain would. Meanwhile, Izuku was less confident as usual. Naruto didn't really have any reactions. How would he? He already knew it was going to happen. All Might continued on talking as long shelves protruded from the wall on the side of the classroom. And to go with your first battle, we've prepared the gear we had you send in requests for to match your quirks. Our battle gear. Awesome. The class shouted out in excitement. This also got Naruto excited for once, as he was going to be able to wear his costume for the first time. This time around, he specifically requested for extra durable red gloves. Get changed, and we'll be ready to go. Everyone, gather at ground beta. All Might announced, as everyone started to head towards the changing rooms and got into their costumes and battle gear. After half an hour flew by, everyone was now gathered at ground beta, which was a training course that emulates a standard urban area, with streets and buildings. At the front was where Naruto stood in all his bald glory, showing off his costume. A.N. Reminder for people cause, why not? Saitama's hero costume consists of a yellow one-piece jumpsuit with a short zipper at the collar and a black belt with a round golden buckle at its center. He wears red gloves that go 3/4 up his forearms and red boots that nearly reach his knees. His costume is finished off with a white cape, which is fastened to his shoulders with round buttons. With his arms crossed, he stood there with his usual indifferent face as Mina and Kirishima approached him. You know, your custom somehow fits you really well, Mina said, wearing her own hero costume. A.N. I doubt I need to go into detail about what everyone's hero costume looks like. Google is your friend. Yeah, she's right. I guess less really is more, Kirishima said. This is how I perceive heroes as, Naruto answered. I always wanted a simple design, since showing off too much isn't my taste. Plus, I think it's pretty cool. I guess. It'll probably grow on people. Mina said as the group turned their attention to All Might as he addressed the whole group. You're all looking great today. It is now time for combat training, or as it is also called the battle trial. All Might shouted out in his usual pose. For today, we will be conducting an indoor battle. We'll be separating into two different groups. The villains and the heroes group, for a 2-on-2 battle. This will also test how you will cooperate with other heroes on the same mission. All Might stated as the group walked down the street following him. He then goes on to explain the details of the combat training. In short, the villains will have to guard a nuclear weapon while the heroes have to stop them. If the heroes capture the villains or reach the nuclear weapon before the time runs out, they win. If the villains manage to keep the nuclear weapon the whole time or capture the heroes, they win. To decide the teams, you would need to draw from a lottery. Walking up to the box, Naruto reached in and pulled out a ball, and on it was the letter C. So I'm paired up with Momo. Shouldn't the results have changed because of the butterfly effect? Naruto thought to himself but put it to the back of his mind. Too lazy to change everything up, plot armor FTW? Walking up to Momo, Naruto nodded in greeting as she also did the same. Taking the initiative, Momo spoke up. I never got to introduce myself. My name is Momo Yaoyorozu. You can just call me Momo since my family name is quite long. Nice to meet you. Naruto reciprocated the greeting as Momo began talking again. While the other first teams are getting ready, how about we talk and share a bit about our quirks so we can come up with a strategy? Sure. I don't really mind. But wouldn't you want to wait until our opponents are decided before deciding on an opponent? Naruto asked as Izuku and Uraraka got ready for their battle against Katsuki and Tenya. You might be right, but I can already think of a general strategy for when we are chosen as either villains or heroes. We can't forget that the main purpose of this exercise revolves around the nuclear weapon, the core. It is the objective of the villain team to protect it, while the hero team has to reach it. With this in mind, we can assume that the matches will revolve around the core, so no matter what team we are on, the priority should be the core. Momo finally finished, leaving Naruto to just stare at her blankly. I forgot how smart she was. If I don't respond or say something, it's going to make me look bad. Naruto thought, before clearing his throat and saying, why yes, you're absolutely right. Let's go with that. Even though I barely understood what you said. Momo just smiled as she explained her quirk to him, while Izuku's team began their infiltration into the building. The rest of the fight went exactly as it had done in the anime, with Izuku's team barely scraping by and securing the win, and Katsuki having gone ballistic as Izuku and him duked it out. The last group to go was Naruto's, as both him and Momo were up against Team B, being Shoto Todoroki and Mezzo Shoji. This is going to be a tough one, Momo muttered, as they were assigned to the hero team. It's going to be difficult to deal with Todoroki's quirk. From what I heard, he can control both ice and fire but refused to use his fire quirk for some reason. Then there's Shoji. I know that he's quite strong and fast, but I'm not quite sure what his quirk can do just yet. Naruto just nodded his head as the both of them waited outside of the building until the 5 minutes timer ran out. Turning to Momo, Naruto asked, say, you can create anything, right? Yeah, as long as I understand the molecular structure of what the material or object is made of, Momo stated. That's way too confusing. Naruto thought. Then, do you have a plan to deal with them? I was just going to jump up to the top floor and just grab the core. Momo blinked for a few seconds before saying, well, I guess if you can jump that high, then that expands our options. Here, I have a plan. After 5 minutes passed, the hero team was allowed to enter the building. Inside, Todoroki and Shoji were guarding the core at the top floor. The entire building was covered with ice, including the core, to prevent it from being easily captured. Using his quirk, Shoji was listening closely for any movement made by Naruto and Momo as he shivered slightly from the cold. After a few moments passed, he was able to hear some footsteps, but they were from Todoroki. I can hear them. They're ABO. Crash! The ceiling of the building crashed open as 2 flashbangs rolled into the room before exploding in a white light, blinding everyone inside. Arg! You won't get past me! Todoroki shouted as he threw his hands forward and used his ice quirk to surround the entire room, including the ceiling. Shoji had to stick close to the core in order to avoid it, as Todoroki was attacking blindly. However, Shoji was more susceptible to sounds due to his quirk, causing the effects to be even more effective. Smashing through the ceiling, Naruto landed on the ground as Todoroki's ice covered his foot. Finally being able to see, Todoroki smirked and said, I wouldn't take a step if I were you. The feeling of having your skin peel off your foot won't be too. Before he could finish, Naruto just casually stepped forward, breaking the ice easily. With his eyes widened, Todoroki took this as a provocation, and, well, I guess that's to be expected, said Todoroki.
As he waved his palms at Naruto, causing a wave of ice to charge at him. It's quite chilly in here, Naruto murmured as his entire body was wrapped in ice. Well, so much for number 1, Todoroki grumbled, only to narrow his eyes again when he saw Naruto stride through the ice, shattering it all apart with the blink of an eye. When he flexed his body, the ice that wrapped him fractured and spread all over the ground. Ha! Shoji lunged himself from behind and kicked Naruto, connecting with his head and causing him to slide along the ice towards the side of the room, standing totally upright and undamaged.
From here, they shouldn't be able to see the core, Naruto reasoned as he made sure Shoji and Todoroki remained focused on him.
Ow! What material is his head composed of? Shoji screamed in agony, clutching his right leg.
Man, this ice is really slippery, Naruto said, crouching down and striking into the icy floor, shattering all of the ice in an instant, causing some loose ice to strike both Todoroki and Shoji at the same time as they tried to defend themselves. Let's see how you deal with this, Todoroki replied, raising both his hands and going to wave them forward when Naruto stood in front of him.
He raised his hand and flicked his middle finger at Todoroki's head, sending him flying back and crashing into a pillar, putting him out instantaneously. Gee, this isn't good, Shoji grumbled as he prepared to defend himself against Naruto. The hero team wins. What? Shoji exclaimed as he turned to see Momo standing close to the core, wearing boots specially built for walking on ice with spikes underneath.
As the two teams returned to the monitor room, All Might proclaimed that Momo was the match's MVP. Can you tell me why that is the case? All Might inquired of the kids, curious to see how far they could evaluate the scenario. Tenya added, Naruto was there solely as a distraction, drawing both Todoroki and Shoji's attention away from the core, while Yaoyorozu would then sneak in and capture the core in the end. Correct. Despite Naruto's ability to keep both Todoroki and Shoji occupied, as well as incapacitate young Todoroki, Miss Yaoyorozu remained focused on the main goal, the capture of the core. And once the core is secured, the hero squad will prevail, All Might stated, nodding. But, without Naruto, the plan wouldn't have worked out, remarked Zero. That is correct, but this is a group exercise. In a real situation, nobody would be getting awards like MVP. Well, there have been some who did it, but those were mostly just between each other, Might stated before coughing and finishing. Well, since that was our last group to fight, this concludes our combat training. Everyone did an excellent job. Aside from young Midoriya and Todoroki, there were no major injuries, declared All Might with a bright grin. I hope you all remember this activity and strive to learn everything you can from it. So, I'm going to share that prior criticism with young Midoriya. Change your clothing and return to class. Todoroki was skulking in the corner, seemingly deep in concentration, after recovering from a concussion from Naruto's flick. All Might dashed off into the distance, leaving Naruto at the front of the group to look back at Todoroki, who hasn't said anything since their battle. His pride might be hurt, but I think this will give him an extra drive, Naruto thought as the class reassembled in the classroom after changing into their uniforms. Because the fighting training had lasted all afternoon, they were free to depart by the time Izuku returned. Naruto approached Izuku and handed him a banana, asking him to get well soon before departing.
Naruto was approached by Mina and Eijiro after practically everyone had left the school. You're also on your way to the station. Let's travel together.
The only remarkable thing that would happen now is Izuku and Katsuki confronting each other and showing off their resolve, after yelling at each other. Other than that, I guess there's not much to do, Naruto thought. Naruto nodded and followed the couple, standing between the pink-haired Mina and the red-haired Eijiro. You realize how strong you are, right? Eijiro inquired. So, why didn't you just fight Shoji and Todoroki directly? Naruto asked, nodding. According to what we saw in the monitoring room, you never retaliated when they attacked you. He's right. You just stood there and took the hits and only attacked Todoroki with that flick of yours, Mina said. Well, I didn't actually have to combat them directly. The plan was simply to divert their attention long enough for Momo to reach the core and capture it, Naruto replied simply. Wouldn't it be quicker just to beat them down? Mina inquired, tilting her head. No, Naruto said, leaving the two stunned, and then added, my hero costume hasn't been fully worn in yet. It would have been too uncomfortable for me until I became completely accustomed to it. Seriously? Eijiro inquired, dumbfounded, the corner of his mouth twitching. Ha 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 ha. Peeved. Mina giggled as she grabbed her stomach. Of all the reasons, it had to be the stupidest one of all. The trio continued to converse until they split ways, with Naruto briefly speaking with his parents before playing some games and retiring to bed. Naruto was on his way to UA High School with Katsuki the day after the fighting training, having managed to calm down since his battle with Izuku, no longer shouting as much as previously. As they approached the gate of UA High School, a big crowd blocked the entrance, pressing cameras and microphones into kids' faces. Tisk. What the fuck are they doing? Katsuki growled as he pushed ahead, the media charging forward as soon as they saw his uniform, pressing him with questions. How do you feel about All Might? Wait. Isn't that you from the sludge guy incident? One of the reporters knew Katsuki and gave him a grimace. He tightened his teeth and hissed, "Drop it." Naruto was ready to continue onward when he was stopped by a female reporter from behind. Can't you please tell us what All Might is like as a teacher? Someone whispered into her ear as her eyes glittered, swiftly saying, before he could say anything. I know it must be difficult for you to be fighting cancer. Would you say that All Might encouraged you to become a hero in the hopes of inspiring countless other children who are fighting the same battles as you? The female reporter remarked swiftly, her eyes nearly glowing at the prospect of gaining a quick side scoop. To try to calm himself, Naruto turned to the reporter and yelled, I'm just naturally bald, stop bothering me. As Naruto went past the gate, the reporter backed up, and when she tried to pursue him, the gate slammed shut, preventing her from entering because she didn't have a student ID on her. Inside Class 1A, everyone was still tense due to the swarm of reporters, and Naruto, in particular, was in a terrible mood, grumbling. What's wrong with being bald? At the very least, unlike you plebs, I don't have to waste money on shampoo. Mina returned to Eijiro and asked him what was wrong with Naruto. Whispering to her, Eijiro informed her what had transpired, prompting her to giggle as she began to cry. All right, everyone, calm down, Aizawa remarked as he entered the classroom, his voice fatigued as usual. I hope you're all rested from yesterday's combat trial. I took the liberty of reviewing your grades and evaluation. He then informed them what they needed to work on, such as Katsuki's anger issues and Izuku's habit of destroying his body in order to use his talents. Well, put more spirit into your actions, he said last to Naruto. Is that it? Everyone wondered as Aizawa ignored the class's reaction and continued to address everyone. Now, let's get on with the homeroom notices. It might be sudden to spring this on you all, but we need to pick a class president. Finally, something school-like, everyone exclaimed inside. Everyone raised their hands at the same time, leaping forward and exclaiming. Oh, I'd like to be class president, choose me. I want to do it, too. Twinkles, oh, you mean the job for me? That's like a position of authority. I'll take care of it. Me. Tenya eventually halted everyone and decided to design a voting system in which people could vote for whomever they thought should be class president. That just sounds like too much bother, this whole class president business. Having to be in charge of the class and being responsible for them. Shiver asterisk, said Naruto. Alright, there you have it. Uzumaki is the president, and Yaoyorozu is the vice president, Aizawa said, sending Katsuki and Tenya into a frenzy. Naruto stood there, his face twitching, surprised by the outcome. Who on earth voted for me? I received 4 votes, outnumbering Momo by 2. On the other hand, I suppose it would be interesting to observe what a class president accomplishes. I can't just act bored all the time. If I want some excitement in my life, I have to work for it. That's a good plan. Naruto remained there with a contemplative expression on his face, unaware that his once relaxed stance had begun to tighten up again. What he didn't notice was that Momo, at the front of the board, gave him a brief glance before returning her attention to the class and Aizawa before being dismissed by the bell for lunch. When it came time for lunch, Naruto found himself in yet another quandary. He typically sat with Mina and Eijiro for lunch, but Momo and Todoroki chose to join them this time. Well, I can see Momo joining us because she's my vice president. But Todoroki? What exactly is his deal? Naruto thought to himself, staring at Todoroki, who didn't respond to Naruto's eyes and merely ate his lunch. When Mina noticed Naruto eating instant noodles, she remarked, shouldn't you eat something healthy? You don't understand, Mina. This is a man's meal. It gives power to the soul, exclaimed Eijiro, devouring his own cup of ramen. The food here is great, but every now and then, you just crave something like this, Naruto stated as he finished his lunch. That's quite unhealthy. Momo observed the two, shaking her head. Todoroki, noticing Naruto's satisfaction from only eating cup ramen, looked to the side of the room, spotting a stack of unopened cup ramen ready for the taking. A loud alarm abruptly interrupted everyone, leading everyone to worry. Security level 3 has been breached. Student, please evacuate immediately, shouted a voice over the speakers. This doesn't sound good. Eijiro muttered, glancing around the canteen as people began to fear. What's a security level 3? Mina inquired, concerned. Something major must have happened on school grounds, Momo observed as she rose from her seat. Naruto shook his head and said, "Don't worry, and just stay calm." He pointed to the window, prompting the four to turn and see a swarm of reporters surging past the front door and coming to a halt as several teachers prevented their access into the school. "I see," Momo remarked, her brow furrowed slightly because she had been harassed by the same reporters since the morning. Todoroki simply remained silent, calmly studying Naruto. After a few seconds, something clicked in Eijiro's head, and he said, "I got it. It's because of those guys, right?" Ding ding ding. You're correct. This is your prize. Naruto praised him, handing him his empty ramen cup and swiftly walking away, escaping the stampede of students. Hey, wait up, Mina said as the others and Eijiro followed him. Students began to congregate around one another, pushing one another towards the exit. The four were carried away by the mob before they could reach Naruto. Mina and Momo began to panic as they were unable to move properly, but then a pair of hands seized their arms. "Calm down, I've got you," Naruto murmured, keeping everyone from pushing past him and remaining immobile like a boulder. "Phew, thanks." Things were getting hairy for a moment there, Mina said, while thinking to herself, bald isn't so bad. Actually, it looks quite cool. "Thank you," Momo replied, a faint blush emerging on her cheeks before dissipating. "I've never been gripped like that before, let alone by someone of the opposite gender," she says. Naruto became irritated by the loudness and snapped his finger, resulting in an extraordinarily loud sound accompanied by a slight air pressure that permeated the entire canteen down to the crowded emergency escape. "Alright, that should do it," Naruto declared, effectively drawing everyone's attention to himself. Turning to Momo, he motioned for her to speak since he was conserving his energies in case a big evil villain attacked. It wasn't because he was too lazy to explain everything. Momo then made a megaphone out of her arm and addressed everyone, encouraging them not to panic because the entire crisis was coming from the reporters who had gotten through the gate from the outside. "You are all prospected heroes, in the most prestigious hero academy in all of Japan. If only the reporters can get you so riled up, how will you be able to face villains in the future?" Momo concluded, sending the students into a quiet stupor as they realized how they were behaving due to a bunch of reporters, especially since they wanted to become heroes themselves. Naruto nodded at Momo and said, "Great speech." Momo thanked them and then murmured, "How are reporters able to breach the security of UA High School? This campus is practically a fortress built to defend against villains, and yet a group of reporters managed to get in?" "Don't think about it too much," Naruto murmured, patting her on the shoulder, "everything will solve itself in due time." Mina, off to the side, wanted to make a remark about how close Momo and Naruto were since she enjoyed interfering with people's relationships, but she couldn't bring herself to do so. It doesn't look like much fun. Seems like they're going to start soon, Naruto thought as everyone peacefully returned to class. When he peeked out the window, he noticed a bunch of instructors gathering around a gate in the distance. Naruto had returned home from school and was lazily watching television. Ring a bell. System activate. Just kidding, you wish. Naruto, can you get the door for me? I'm a bit busy, his mother exclaimed when the doorbell rang. Be one with the environment. Ease your breathing, and gently fade, pondered Naruto. Clang. Didn't I tell you to get the door? His mother shouted after hurling a pan at his head, deforming the pan. Alright, Naruto responded, getting up and picking up the pan, bending it back into shape, and tossing it to his mother. When Naruto arrived at the door, he slightly opened it and peered out to see who it was. Young Uzumaki, it is I, All Might. I have come to. Bang, the door slammed into All Might's face, casting a shadow across his face, his hand still raised from waving.
Ring a bell. Naruto barely slightly opened the door this time, peering outside. What do you want? Is this a home visit? I'll have you know, I won't be lending you any of my manga. All Might didn't know how to react, standing there and thought to himself, people would always be pleased when they see me. Uzumaki, the young man, is unmistakably unique. No, I'm not here to borrow anything from you,
Might replied, returning to his slim shape after making sure no one was present. I was actually just nearby after visiting young Midoriya. You should have seen how young Bakugo reacted. It wasn't pretty. Oh, and congratulations on becoming class president, All Might said, still standing outside because Naruto refused to let him in. So, you're just here to say hello and congratulate me? Naruto inquired. Well, yes? Replied All Might. Okay, hi, thanks, and bye. Bang! Naruto shut the door once after greeting All Might, leaving him to stand alone outdoors as the wind blew his hair to the side. Young Uzumaki, you are so strong that you don't even invite me in. This is also good because one should never let anyone into their home with their family so readily because there are villains out there who can disguise themselves as other people. All Might thought, misinterpreting Naruto's desire to refuse him entry and disturb his productive day plans. Who was it, honey? Naruto's mother inquired as she reached for her pan. Nobody, just some weird skinny guy, Naruto said, returning to his couch and watching his TV. How was school? Anything exciting happened? His mother inquired as she returned to the kitchen to start dinner. Not much, Naruto responded quietly. Oh, I did become class president, so there was that. Clang, why you? What? His mother stammered, horrified to the core. Is my hearing all right? Did I just hear that my son is finally interested in doing something productive for once? Mom. Naruto muttered, a tired expression on his face. I'm home. What's going on today? Why do you look so pale? His father walked in and worriedly asked his mother. Our little boy is growing. He became class president, his mother murmured sadly. Guffaw. His father exclaimed, his jaws wide open, as his glasses flew off his face. Et tu, father? Retorted Naruto. Wednesday. Class 1A. Aizawa was speaking to the class at the time, saying, for today's hero basic training. It's turned into a class with 3 instructors, All Might, me, and one more person. The class reacted slightly to his comments because 3 heroes were going to educate them for today's lesson. Excuse me. What are we going to do? Shiro inquired of Aizawa. Disasters, shipwrecks, and everything in between. It's a rescue training, Aizawa said, pulling out a card and flashing it to the students. Rescue, huh? Sounds like a lot of work, Kaminari observed. That's a hero's duty to rescue people, Kirishima added. This is going to be fantastic, right? Mina asked, turning to Naruto. Naruto was currently lost in his own world, thinking to himself, this should be when those guys attack, right? What were their names once more? Villains in a gang. A gang of criminals? Oh well, they'll probably introduce themselves with a monologue anyhow. Hey, I'm not done, Aizawa remarked, regaining the students' attention. You can decide if you want to wear your costume or not this time. Since there are costumes that can limit your abilities as well. We're going off campus for the training, so we'll be going by bus. Get your costumes and get ready.
After that, everyone went to the shelves that protruded from the wall and gathered their costumes before exiting and boarding the bus. Before that, Naruto paused and handed Aizawa a sheet of paper, saying, I want to add one more detail to my costume. Well, it's more of a side accessory. Nodding, Aizawa took the piece of paper and swiftly went over the details, but the drawing of the sketch itself was horrible. Let's just say Naruto isn't going to be an artist anytime soon. He then turned to Naruto and stated, you do realize it will take a few days to complete this, right? Duh, I never expected you guys to actually make it in one day, Naruto replied as he walked out of class to change. He can be quite the smartass when he needs to, Aizawa thought to himself.
Inside the changing area, most of the males changing couldn't help but shake their heads in envy as Naruto changed. Man. How are you so ripped? It doesn't even show on your clothes, it's like it's all hidden away, Eijiro observed in the mirror. Training. Naruto replied as he dressed in his hero outfit, his well-built body shrinking, barely exposing any of his muscles, making him appear humble. Unless, of course, he becomes serious.
What kind of training do you go through? Kaminari inquired. Todoroki leaned in from the side, trying to appear inconspicuous to the rest of the guys.
Naruto grinned to himself and asked solemnly, are you sure you really want to know? People who were listening couldn't help but gulp at his comments, imagining how difficult it would be for Naruto to suddenly get serious about training. Izuku, who was standing on the sidelines, could only shake his head inwardly, thinking, they are in for a shock. Well, what is it? Tell us already. Shiro pushed Naruto forward, with Todoroki virtually craning his neck towards Naruto. Before leaving the changing room, Naruto murmured, "Nah." The remainder of the guys remained motionless and blinked to themselves before cursing aloud. Some of the guys on the bus were still upset with Naruto for leaving them hanging. Naruto was trying to sleep but was constantly disrupted by Mina's exuberant cheerfulness, while Momo continued uttering too many complicated phrases for him. Say, do you think that we'll get to fight someone as well this time? Like the robots from the entrance exam? Replied Kaminari. That'll be great. Getting to fight villains and rescue people at the same time, just like a real hero, remarked Eijiro. Who knows? It could be just a normal rescue training as well, said Sato. I always say what comes to mind, Ribbit, Asui said, and Midoriya, your quirk reminds me of All Might's. Izuku exclaimed in surprise and fear before Asui turned to Naruto. Yours, too, Asui added. Hold on, Asui, All Might never gets hurt. That's where the likeness ends with Midoriya. Eijiro turned to Naruto and said, but when it comes to Naruto, I'd say he's more similar to All Might than Midoriya is, right? Yeah. That strength quirk you have is just all kinds of crazy, Mina added, as Izuku exhaled a sigh of relief as the subject moved away from him. Although I'm this strong, I still do daily training every single day for the past 8 years or so, Naruto shrugged. Whoa, really? That requires a whole next level of dedication. It's hard imagining someone like you sticking that long to your daily training for 8 whole years, Mina said. What sort of training do you do? Momo inquired. He won't even tell us that, Shiro remarked, his arms crossed. I just do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and run a 10-kilometer run every single day, non-stop, Naruto stated. The boys all became furious towards Naruto, who simply shrugged and stated, I just didn't want to tell you guys before because I'll just have to say it again. Might as well just tell it to everyone at once, don't blame me for that. That actually makes sense, Eijiro grumbled, falling down on his seat. Todoroki was writing something in a brand new journal he bought in the bus's corner. People ridiculed and joked with each other about their idiosyncrasies and how Bakugo wouldn't be popular due to his personality. After a little while, they arrived at their destination, the unforeseen simulation joint. It had a massive dome form on top and was capable of hosting many environments for simulations and situations. The students inside the dome exclaimed at the dome's enormous size. Flood wrecks, landslides, fires, etc. Hero 13 addressed the class in his spacesuit. While Izuku was swooning over Hero 13, Aizawa couldn't find All Might and was told by 13 that All Might was currently too weak after spending the entire morning racing around and stop on the fly. Sigh, that guy's the height of irrational. Aizawa grumbled, oh well, the day's not ruined, though. We still have a backup plan. Shall we? The power of 13, for example, is known as a black hole. She has the ability to transform any material that is soaked into it into dust, yet the same capability may be used to kill humans. I wonder what would happen if she used her talent to attack me. As 13 proceeded, Naruto thought to himself. Today, we are going to be studying how to wield our quirks for the sake of human life. No quirk that exists is evil. It is the people who use them that can create a bad image of quirks. If someone evil was to have my quirk, just imagine the amount of damage he can cause, but if he were to use it for good, just imagine how many people he would be able to save and rescue. 13 clarified as the audience applauded. That was great, exclaimed Uraraka. Bravo, bravo, exclaimed Tenya. Huh? What did she say? Mumbled Naruto as Mina elbowed him. All right, first things first. Aizawa was cut off when a low humming static sound came from the dome around them, followed by the lights being turned off. Huh? The students looked about, perplexed. Naruto squinted his eyes and looked down at the central plaza at the bottom of the steps. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. I hope I did enjoy the story, and if it did, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.